Hello, music fans. Today we're talking about 1975 and my 10 favorite albums that were released that year. But first, I'll start with an honorable mention, which is Sabotage by Black Sabbath. This is a heavy metal album, their sixth album. Really solid, has 8 tracks that include 2 short instrumentals that are under 4 minutes in length, and then has also 2 longer tracks for Black Sabbath that are over 8.5 minutes in length. My number 10 is Come Taste the Band by Deep Purple. This is a hard rock album. It's their 10th album. It has David Coverdale and Glenn Hughes on co-lead vocals. It's the only Deep Purple album with Tommy Bolin, who replaced Ritchie Blackmore on guitar, as he unfortunately passed away shortly after the album's release. The album has a lot of good, catchy, hard rocking tunes with a little bit more funk influence than previous Deep Purple albums. My number 9 is Equinox by Styx. This is a progressive rock album. It's their 5th album. It features the hit song Lorelei, which is really catchy and poppy and has some great synth parts to it. But there's also some cool proggy stuff on this album too. My number 8 is Omadon by Mike Oldfield. This is progressive rock as well. It's his 3rd album, and it's my favorite album by Mike Oldfield. Yes, of course, I love his more well-known album, Tubular Bells, but I actually like Omadon and Hergest Ridge just a tad better than Tubular Bells. Tubular Bells might be my 3rd favorite by Mike Oldfield. This album, again, like most of his albums before, is mostly instrumental, though there are a couple moments with vocals here. Number 7, I have Minstrel in the Gallery by Jethro Tull, another progressive rock album. It's their 8th album. It mixes prog rock, folk rock, and hard rock together, features some awesome flute playing as usual for Jethro Tull. Number 6, I have Physical Graffiti by Led Zeppelin. This is their 6th album. It's more of a straightforward rock album than most of the others on my list. It's not as progressive, but there are a lot of great songs on here. The album is a double album, so it's a little on the long side. There's some stuff that is arguably filler that could have been trimmed, but it does have one of my favorite Led Zeppelin songs, which is Kashmir, on it. Number 5, I have Night at the Opera by Queen. This is another rock album. It's their 4th album. It's almost progressive rock, but I wouldn't quite classify it as that. It's very poppy with some hard rock and stuff and some almost heavy metal moments. You're My Best Friend and Bohemian Rhapsody are the well-known standout tracks, but some of the deeper cuts are also great. Bohemian Rhapsody is one of the most iconic and best rock songs of all time. Number 4, I have Fly By Night by Rush. This is a progressive rock album. It's their 2nd album. Their 1st album to feature Neil Peart on drums. You can tell he brought a lot of sophistication to the band in the drumming department. Not that they were lacking before, as John Rutsey played well on the 1st album, but Neil Peart really brought them to the next level. My favorite tracks on here are Fly By Night, Anthem, and By Tour and the Snow Dog. Number 3 is also by Rush, and this one I have a prop for. It's Caress of Steel. This is another progressive rock album. It's Rush's 3rd album and their most progressive album at this point in time. At the time it was released, it was not as well received as the first 2 albums, but I personally like it better than their first 2. Bastille Day and Lakeside Park are great songs. I Think I'm Going Bald is a bit of a weird lyrical topic, but it shows a funny side of Rush. And then there's the mini epic The Necromancer, which is 12 minutes and 29 seconds, and the full-blown epic Fountain of Lamneth, which is a multi-part suite that's almost 20 minutes in length. My number 2 is Free Hand by Gentle Giant. This is progressive rock, their 7th album. It's the first Gentle Giant album that I heard, and I was instantly intrigued and had to hear more of this band. It's my favorite album by Gentle Giant, maybe because it's the first one I heard, but it's also got a catchiness and it's even kind of danceable while still being one of the most progressive and quirky albums ever and showcasing instrumental and compositional virtuosity, wild a cappella harmonies and counterpoint, and a wide variety of instruments with every member of the band being a great multi instrumentalist. It's got influences from jazz, funk, and classical music, even some parts that sound like medieval traveling minstrel singers. Really love Freehand by Gentle Giant. And my number one of 1975, show the vinyl here, Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. Another progressive rock masterpiece album. It's their ninth album and their first since their most commercially successful album, Dark Side of the Moon. I like this even better than Dark Side of the Moon personally. I think it's Pink Floyd's best album as well. It's probably my favorite album of the 1970s that wasn't made by Rush. So this is a bit of a spoiler for future videos in this series, because Rush is basically my favorite band of the 70s. Some of Rush's greatest albums are still to come later in the decade, so will be featured in future videos in this series where I'm counting down my top 10 favorite albums of every year in the 70s. But Shine On You Crazy Diamond Part 1 to 5 on Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd is the perfect album opener to really just get you in a trance. Welcome to the Machine is an awesome song with great keyboard work. One of, if not my favorite Pink Floyd songs. Have a Cigar is the rocking song on the album. Wish You Were Here is the iconic ballad, and then it ends full circle with Shine On You Crazy Diamond Part 6 to 9. Just a really great album. I can't get enough of it. Every time I listen to it, it's just captivating, really great. I think this is an album that people will still be listening to 100 years after its release and still thinking it's amazing. And that's it for my top 10 albums of 1975. What are yours? Let me know down below in the comments. What do you think of this list? Anyone want to make predictions for what my favorite albums of 1976 will be? Feel free to take some guesses down below, and stay tuned for the next video in this series, which will be 1976. Hit that subscribe button if you want to be aware of when that comes out. And until then, peace out.